I missed you the whole afternoon. I missed you, Pierre, also. I saw you, but I missed being in here with you.
Bonsoir. Thank you. Merci, Flore. I also missed you, and I think everyone has not missed anything of what happened in the different workshops.
Yeah, I hope you all had amazing breakout sessions, and I hope now you're ready to hear because we have a great panel ahead. It is time for our last plenary of the day, where we will explore through intergenerational dialogue how the future is in our hands. To moderate this discussion, let's welcome Alistair Hannaford, a global youth representative. Alistair, my friend, the stage is yours.
Et voilà.
Thanks so much, Flore and Pierre. Hello. Welcome to this evening panel discussion on the future is in our hands, co-creating an intergenerational vision for innovation in education. Today we have a diverse panel representing different generations to explore the vision and expectations of each generation for the future of Scouting, and to discuss how to truly implement youth leadership in Scouting. Let me introduce our panelists. Normaduddin, the International Commissioner of the Scouts Association of Malaysia, boasting an illustrious portfolio as a recipient of esteemed accolades such as the King Scout Award and several meritorious service medals from the association.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also joining her on stage is Dr. Mo, who serves as the International Commissioner of Egypt's National Scout Organization. His leadership extends to heading the organization committee of the 43rd World Scout Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They will also be joined by Shashank, who is a very active volunteer from the Bharat Scouts and Guides Association and a brilliant moderator of the Scouts SDGs Hub that Ahmed presented to us this morning. Thank you. Joining them will be Diana Neal, a member of the World Scout Committee, who has previously held the National Director of Development role, strengthening Scouting within the Scout movement of Argentina. And finally, to this complementary group, we'll be joined by Melissa Pinto, a youth advisor to the World Scout Committee, who has held the role of National Youth Leadership Coordinator at the Scouts do Brasil. Thank you very much, and welcome on stage. So, my first question is to Dr. Mo. Scouting has evolved over the years, and it's essential to bridge the gap to generations. In your experience, how has Scouting been tailored to address the unique challenges and opportunities faced by youth in different regions, considering the cultural diversity within the movement?
Thank you for this long question. I just would like to start by more than 35 years I'm playing Scouting, and I feel young. And now it's a moment that I realize that I'm representing the old generation among this panelists, but it's a moment. And I agreed with Melissa over the lunch today that I will see it from a different perspective, that I'm representing here the experienced generation. This is what we agreed on. And I would like to start answering the question from this point. I think 3 courses of actions the movement can provide for the young people. The first one is help them to see the full picture. And this is by providing knowledge as much as we can. And here I would like to refer to the excellent effort that had been done by the planning team of the Congress. We can see a lot of knowledgeable and a lot of experiences are here in providing young people with knowledge. Specifically, I would like to refer for an example for the last day, the previous day, the panelist at the end of the day when we have a very huge presentation regarding the data. But the data now is very important for young people to see the full picture. Also, I would like to refer to the second draft of the strategy document that stated that we need the young people to take informed decision-making. So this is the first one. The second one is the different perspective from the different generations, the different cultures. This is what will help people, young people, to understand and get the knowledge about their knowledge. The second course of action is engaging the young people in the decision-making from the start of the process. This will help them to understand, will help also to assess not only the need, but also the capacity of the young people to tackle the challenges. The last course of action from my point of view is also the capacity building, not only the capacity building for young people, I feel the capacity people for and old people like me. I was looking for Monica and Al Hassan in this morning, and they are crossing their legs and they have all the notes in the mobile. I need a capacity building to do this. I'm not able to do so. For helping the young people to tackle the challenges, we need to capacity building for all the generations inside the Scout movement.
Well, thank you very much, Mo. And while you may be the experienced member of the panel, no one is contesting that you're not young at heart.
Yeah, thank you.
My next question is to Diana. As an individual actively involved in Scouting, what innovative approaches or projects have you witnessed that successfully promote youth leadership within the movement?
Well, thank you very much for your question. But maybe to answer this question, I'm going to ask you to reflect like for 1 second, because if not, they are going to cut me.
You've only got 2 minutes, just remember.
Sorry. Just half second. In your life, I mean, when you are young, no matter how old you are right now, if you need to think about your mentors, which are the things that how they support you to become leadership in your different roles. If you need to think about like 2 aspects of that mentors in your life, I think to support youth leadership around the world, no matter which project, no matter which level we are talking about, we need to have trust and permission. These are the 2 main things that I believe everyone in every corner of the world need to have in mind to empower young people, to support them, to develop their skill in youth leadership. I mean, trust on their ideas, on their capacity, on their new way of thinking, and permission to fail. If they feel that support, they will become excellent, awesome leaders. And I'm sure that you realize that these 2 things were happening in your life when you became what you are right now, all leaders of Scouting. And in that sense as well, when we talk about like to put everything on the table, to listen new ideas, and to be flexible in that sense, always came to my mind one famous pedagogue from Brazil, that is Paulo Freire. Maybe most of you know him. And he had a very famous phrase that says, everyone knows something, and everyone ignores something. That's why we are always learning. And I think that's something very important to have in mind in the process that we are supporting other leaders in your roles, in your leadership role that you are taking, your NSOs, to have that in mind. Because no matter which project we're talking about, we can put a lot of examples, like ILT, like environmental project, that all of the projects that are on the treehouse as well in our showcase. And you can recognize that the support that those young people needed were trust and permission.
Thank you very much, Diana. And I think that's an incredibly valuable point, because at some point we were all young, or at least younger, and we did need that help. So looking at how we can give that to future generations is so important. I'd like to now thank Diana and say we have a very special guest joining us by video. Recharge Osman is from Libya, was one of the first participants of the Arab Region Youth Leadership Training, and has a very strong message for us.
Assalamu alaikum. Hello, my name is Recharge Osman. I am from Benghazi, Libya, 25 years young, a pharmacist and a member in the Libyan Scouts and Guides movement since 2002. Despite of those many years I've spent in Scouts and being a leader 3 years ago, I've always felt that my voice was not heard, and there will always be someone who's older and wiser to make the decisions. Mine was just extra, but that was from the past. A few months ago, I was chosen to represent Libya Scouts and Guides in a program called International Leadership Training, first edition in the Arab Scouts region in Ismailia, Egypt. What's ILT anyways? I've been told that it is a training that would reshape the Arab region. It would increase the capacities and skills of youth, as well as increase the youth engagement at national and regional levels. I can proudly say that ILT changed my life. I had the best experience I will never forget my whole life. ILT, 3 letters that carry so many lessons, emotions, memories, and friendship maze. ILT helped me to become who I am today. After coming back home, I had the courage to participate and take a place as a chairwoman at the National Committee of Young Women. And for that, I am forever grateful for this great opportunity that I had in ILT.
Let's give a round of applause for Recha. Now, Norma, as a leader with considerable experience, how can we bridge the gap between traditional Scouting values and the evolving needs and expectation of future generations?
Thank you, Alistair, for the question. Personally, intergenerational dialogue is something I champion a lot, especially back home in my own NSO. And we always battle between what we think traditional Scouting and the evolving digitalization of the world. But actually, if you look deeper, or you don't even have to look deep, if Scouting today is to be made relevant, and Scouting is education, you will find digitalization is already in Scouting. I'll draw an example from being a Sea Scout leader, and we teach navigation. We teach paper maps and charts, but we have to teach them how to use the GPS, how to use the chart plotter, and every other tech that's out there, because it's all about safety, it's all about enjoying the program. So personally, I don't see how there is a gap unless we want to see that gap. Scouting today has been more relevant than ever in terms of intergenerational gap. Perhaps us who has crossed the youthful threshold should now recognize privileges, perhaps recognize that there are some youth who are probably just not heard, and that we need to reach out to them in order to give them the chance to perform, to take on leadership roles. But you know, as much as I say this, but I realize then it's already there in the patrol system. They are in the patrol system and they are actually exercising leadership, exercising decision-making. However, it's not like we say, here's the rule book, here's your scout promise, here's your uniform, go and get going. It's not that. But what they also need is guidance from adults, more experienced leaders. It doesn't have to be very old adults, it could be their seniors, who would just give them the guidance that they need, and to tell them, by the way, the road ahead, full of challenges, lots of risks, but here's how we go about them. And that's, I feel, is how adults in Scouting should take Scouting when they sell it to the young people, the why, the how. That's how it should go. And of course, when in doubt, Baden Powell say, ask the Scout. So I would like to share, you all know Lego. It's a very traditional toy, actually. And they were almost at the brink of bankruptcy. But what they did was that they started asking the stakeholders, please submit proposals of the best designs, and if your proposal has lots of votes, we'll make it, we'll produce it. And I don't know if you know this Voltron. It's a very cool design made by a Filipino who lived in Malaysia. And he submitted it, and that design won the votes. But the point being is that Lego was at the brink of being irrelevant. And what they did was to reach out to the stakeholders and say, hey, we want your ideas. And we'll work that pitch. And with that, you have Lego today with, in themes of Friends, NASA, and all these other sub-brands. I feel that's the way Scouting should go if we're in doubt.
Thanks very much, Norma. That's an incredibly powerful message for some people, that we can look to our young people for inspiration. I'll now ask Shashank, how has Scouting played a role in shaping the aspirations and leadership qualities of youth in your region? And how can this be a model for other countries?
Thank you very much for that question. So coming to youth leadership and aspirations, it is something that is always evolving and not static in nature. So primarily, leadership starts at the patrol system in any and every country. But seeing that this is progressive and continue to different levels within the NSO and the region is really important. And this is something that we are emphasizing and we have remained successful in doing. And because of this, young people are able to make decisions and voice their opinions at the NSO level and at the regional level. So this is something that is driving leadership within our region. And something specific to mention, our region is one of the most diverse regions, that is the Asia-Pacific region. And leadership is an innate quality that has to be possessed by each and every one of us based on mutual acceptance and relevance. This is because we have conflicting ideologies and different cultures, which brings us together, and that in itself is a form of leadership. And coming to aspirations, the amount of opportunities that is reaching young people in our region is significantly rising. And this is a trend that is in turn influencing all the other young people in the region to look us as examples and try to seize the opportunities. So all of these in turn is driving the aspirations and youth leadership within our region. And hopefully this can be reciprocated and implemented by other regions across WOSM to help create a better world and trigger youth empowerment and engagement.
Thank you so much for that message. I think it's something we can all learn a lot from. Now, I would like to ask Melissa, I'm aware that you would like to present a definition of youth leadership after some of the work done during this triennium. You have 2 minutes. Please, go ahead.
All right. I must
No
say
pressure.
that it's very challenging to explain this in 2 minutes, and I'll do my best. What we are proposing with this concept of youth leadership is really a mindset shift. Is a cultural change in our movement. When we had like youth engagement is a culture in which we are pushing young people, we are giving space to young people to be active. And when we talk about youth leadership, it's a system in which we are working in all the phases of capacity building, of skills and competences of young people, so they can actively be involved in this structure. So I will be very provocative here when I say youth engagement. It looks more to a quantitative metric of having youth in the table. And when we talk about youth leadership, what we're trying to really implement and to work on, we are looking to qualitative metric. Are these people really making a change? Are they really actively participating in the debates on the table? So this is the main idea in 2 minutes, I think.
Thank you very much. In WOSM's recent journey to strengthen youth leadership in all areas and at all levels, what do you then think are the 2 most important actions that NSOs can start implementing?
Yeah, so this is also challenging because of the diversity of our movement. There are layers of complexity in this, so I will have to be generalistic here in my answer to your question. I mean, maybe the top 2 recommendations that NSO can do, the top 2 would be to understand youth leadership as something transversal. And when I say this, I don't mean just to say this word out loud, just to include in the document, but it's really incorporating the concept of youth leadership being something transversal in the organization. And the top 1 recommendation that I think that NSOs needs to start doing is to really invest in capacity building opportunities for young people to grow and to achieve their full potential. And while doing this, encourage critical thinking, encourage independent thinking, so they can be actively integrated in the spaces where they are involved.
Thank you very much for that. Now I'll return to you, Norma. How can we empower young scouts to take on leadership roles and actively contribute to decision-making processes at both local and global levels within the Scout movement?
Thank you for the question. We are already doing that, I believe, but just for a few examples, one of which I believe cultural exchange programs. One of the activities that we can organize and to provide, it's basically a platform for young people to work with young people from other regions, probably other regions within the NSO, as well as inter-region. And this would definitely inculcate teamwork, working together, having lots of healthy discussions, and empowering them to actually look further than themselves. One other thing that we can do besides cultural exchange programs, of course, since the pandemic, online collaborative projects have definitely broadened the horizons of so many young people. It's unfortunate that scouting had to be taken virtually, but seeing the bright side of life, I feel at least within my units, they said, hey, you know, it's okay. We didn't know there's so many other advocacy programs that we could dive into and enrich ourselves and to talk to someone else with the same beliefs, wearing just different colored scarf. And it's so interesting, intriguing to have those avenues for communication. You may think that young people who are tech savvy today may not like to talk. Actually, they do. They talk nonstop. Third, I feel, is mentorship programs. While as we prepare the young to lead, it is important that as adults, we not only facilitate, but we mentor with much care and be that, not just a beacon, but a resource person to these young people. Everybody's afraid of making mistakes, especially the young. And they need to know it's okay for them to make those mistakes and it's salvageable. And the adult here, our role is to say, hey, it's okay. I got you. We're going to do this together. Of course, other things like youth-led community initiatives and leadership training workshops are one of the few that avenues for young people to exercise decision-making. And more importantly, I think I would like to go back to that triangle of youth program. That is, there's the program, there's the youth, and then there's the adult leaders as support. And adult leaders need to understand that these three are the ingredients, not just adult leaders. Youth as well need to understand these are the ingredients to a very successful youth program and intergenerational success for the NSO.
I think that this is a really important thing to remember. And building on that, I'd like to turn to Shawshank and ask, how can the Scouting movement contribute to building resilience and adaptability among young people, considering the rapidly changing global landscape?
Thank you. And this is an extremely relevant question because the world is ever evolving. And as I mentioned, it is not static in nature. But as time has tested Scouts, we've always seemed to be resilient, despite the pandemic and all the other challenges that have been posed to Scouts and young people across the globe. It is their nature to combat that, fight it back, and try to contribute towards the betterment of the world. So building on this, it is really important for us to understand that as Scouts, contributing and mobilizing young people in taking actions towards creating a better world in itself is resilience. And this is being continuously fostered and built upon through the Scouts for SDGs platform, accompanied by holistic education methods. So it involves making young people believe in themselves and hoping that they are able to lead and create that change that they anticipate to see. And this will in turn help them to propagate through any of these intrinsic environments that would in turn pose a challenge and a threat to their existence. So this is something as Scouts that we have developed, have sustained, and will progress in the near future to create a better world.
Thank you very much for that. And I think as we look at tomorrow's program, the many panels and workshops on offer, we see the very diverse way in which Scouts around the world are looking to integrate new and radical ideas into the Scouting education, whether that's mental health capacity or human rights education, both of which I think look like really good workshops. But at this point, I'll pass it back to Mo and ask you, how can we ensure that the vision for the future of Scouting is inclusive and accessible to all, regardless of socioeconomic background or geographical locations?
Yeah. I just would like to start by acknowledging the effort that the Scout movement had been done over the past decade regarding diversity and inclusion, and I can see it's an important one. From my point of view, three course of actions or three strategic directions. The first one is increasing awareness everywhere about the value of the diversity, how we can implement the diversity and the inclusion. What is the importance of this? What are the challenges that the Scout movement are facing while we are implementing diversity and inclusion, and how we can overcome those challenges? I think awareness everywhere. This can help the Scout movement for increasing the diversity and inclusion. The second strategic direction is demonstrating action. I just would like to see the Scout movement as a role model in demonstrating a lot of actions regarding diversity and inclusion, and all the mosaic thing that we are implementing while we are talking about the operational framework in the triennial plan, when we are looking for the solidarity activities that we are doing in events. This is demonstrating action. You know what, one day I would like to see, we have the psychology as a science, sociology as a science, physiology as a science. I'm dreaming one day we have a Scoutology as a science. We can see the DNA of the Scouts as a science that we can provide the whole world to create a better world. The third strategic direction from my point of view is institutional decisions. This is what can help the organization to sustain the action that they had been demonstrated. And we can see for policy, process, procedures, resolution, even constitutional amendments that can help the Scout movement to adopt more diversity and inclusion. And we all know that we have nowadays a proposal regarding the rules of procedures regarding the next conference. So I think all of these can help awareness, demonstrating action, and the institutional decisions. Can help that we can enable the organization to adopt diversity and inclusion more.
It sounds like there's a lot to consider as we move forward to a world conference that you're in charge of. So no one's jealous of that position, let's say.
More than welcome.
I think at this point I want to go back to Diana. In your opinion, how can Scouting community leverage the principles of innovation and adaptability to stay relevant and impactful in the face of evolving educational and societal trends? Nice and easy one for you there.
That's a good question. Well, I mean, we always talk about flexibility, adaptability, and those things are common things that we used to talk in education itself and in Scouting. But what that means, I mean, for us, what that means. So I think one important point that we need to keep in mind to think about how to implement that flexibility or that adaptability is to fall in love with the problems and not with the solutions. So the world is changing. We all know we have been discussing about the mega trends, about the different changes that are happening around the world. And we all have our books of how to do the things, right? How to review a program, how to run a national assembly, different things, right? So the point here, I think, is if you really fall in love with the program itself, with the issue that we need to change, with the thing that we need to approach, and not with the solution that have been using in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, it's going to be easy to be flexible, to adapt ourselves, because we are not going to be focusing on the frustration that the solution that we create is not working. We are going to be focusing on the problem. So if one solution is not working, we are going to find another one, or we are going to look for another one. But we are not going to be like a sensitive attached to that solution, right? So we are going to be focused on the problem. When I'm thinking about this, a very nice song came to my mind from Calle 13, that it's a very nice band from Latin America that we used to hear, that says, if you want, I'm not going to sing, don't worry. But the song says that if you want to attract true change, you need to walk differently. So that makes a lot of noise when I need to think about projects, about life in general, but about Scouting and about how we used to do things, right? If I have time, I can give you an example that happened to me in my personal life. And in Scouting in Argentina, we were working on a program where we involved and we were supporting a local scout group that were working in vulnerable contexts. And once we meet all together in one place, and we were discussing about the robber section. And with my team, we were like explaining the leaders, the scout leaders, okay, this is the robber section proposal, and these are the ways that we are working, and blah, blah, blah. And at once, one of the ladies raised her hand and said, yeah, we are having an issue in our group because all the robbers, the women, are getting pregnant, so they are leaving the group because we cannot, work on this. And it was like, okay, forget all of the things that I just said. Let's see that problem and let's look for the solution for that. Forget about the manual, forget about the, because it's like, in that case, for example, the youth program, people don't need to adapt to the youth program. The youth program needs to adapt to people. So if I see the problem and if I analyze the problem, I can find easily solutions. So the youth program can work on an adaptability or flexible way of running the program in the robber section in the different part of the country, because Argentinians are not the same in the north, in the south, in the same city, in the different neighborhoods, right? So in that experience that happened to me, I was like, okay, it's like this. This is what I mean when I'm saying fall in love with the problems and not with the solution that we already have. That's my
I think this is very valuable, and listening definitely to some of the plenaries earlier, but also in the workshops, I think one thing that struck me is it's much more about finding the right question than finding the right answer. And everyone should start thinking, because you will have a chance in just a moment to ask that right question to our panelists here. But before we get onto that, I'd like to ask one final question to Melissa. What lessons can be learned and what experiences can be shared within an intergenerational decision-making body like the World Scout Committee?
That's a good question. I think that for a good and a healthy intergenerational, and not only intergenerational, but intercultural environment, like the World Scout Committee, it's very important to be conscious and to be intentional while fighting or acting against unconscious bias. One lessons learned that I had from this process is that this environment, this healthy environment, is not something effortless. This means that we always need to be aware that we are different. Like, just example, we were talking in the lunch, like me and Mo, we are different. I know it doesn't look like, but we are from different generations. We are from different backgrounds. You won't be this. And but how can we sit together and how can we create bridges? So we need to be conscious. We need to be aware of the differences because they will always be there. And there are many different ways to create those bridges. And as a personal perspective, there are many ways to do this. But for me, it's very important to focus on the why. Like, why we are where we are. Why we are doing what we are doing, why we are saying what we are saying. So this is, for me, the most important and one way that we can create those bridges.
I think that's a very nice answer there. And now, I hope you've been giving it some thought, because I'm going to ask the audience if they have any questions. So let's open up the floor to them. So do we have any questions in the audience?
Thank you.
Excuse me, just before that, for the question and answers, I just wanted to remind you that there is interpreting going on the backstage. You might not see it, but they're still there. They're still doing their best to provide an equal conference to everyone. So take your time when when asking the questions and when answering. I'm sorry to remind you that, so that the interpret can provide everything and give an equal conference to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that reminder. On that note, do we have any hands up?
I think we were clear enough, and we are demonstrating the intergenerational. This is why there's no question here.
Hi there. Callum Kay, United Kingdom. I really like the examples about the ILT. So ILT sounds like such an amazing program, which people are benefiting from across the region and regions now. But I'm aware that it benefits a relatively small number of people in an NSO at a time, and also quite a set demographic, so older people, younger people, if that makes sense, within the NSO. I'm aware that not every young person reaches Rover Scouts. So how do we extend the opportunities so that every young person that comes and joins Scouting can reach their full leadership potential, even if they don't manage to go to an ILT or stay with us all the way through to the end of Rover Scouts?
Thank you very much, Callum, for that question. Just before you give away the microphone, is there anyone specifically you would like to ask, have it answered, or are you happy with anyone's input on that?
Happy with anyone's.
Okay, thank you. Who would like to take up this then?
I can start, and then my colleagues can complement. You know, when Alistair asked me the top 2 recommendations for NSO, and I mentioned that the first, like the most central recommendation that I will always give to NSOs is to really invest in capacity building opportunities for young people. So even if the entire organization youth organization is not able to attend such events, such opportunity, it's also important to have your own structure, to develop your own framework. And this is, you don't need to wait for the regional level to do something, you don't need to wait for the world level to do something, but really, what can we do on our national level? What can we do in our local level? You need to start from the local level. So this is where all the opportunities comes from. When I was explaining also the youth leadership concept, it's reminding us that youth leadership is something that it's like the essence of Scouting. It starts in the local level. It starts in the beginning. And yeah, I think this is a way where we can look at these opportunities.
Thank you very much for that answer. It feels quite comprehensive, but I would dare someone else to try and add to that.
Yeah, if I may, I just would like to add one thing related to ILT, especially we have it in the Arab region last year. Yes, I echo Melissa, we need to have this concept on the level of the NSOs, but the most important thing, we need to look to the outcome of the ILT, and we need to empower those candidates in a position that can demonstrate that the ILT is really, it's not only a capacity building program, but it's really an empowerment tool to the young people that when they are on the leadership position, they are demonstrating a different leadership skills. So I just would like to emphasize on this. It's not only the capacity building, but we need to empower the young people to get positions, not necessarily official positions, but in assignment, in task forces, in events, on whatever, to demonstrate the leadership skills that they get.
Thank you very much for adding to that. I think it really complements the answer in full. Do we have, oh yes, I see here. Oh.
I think there was another question first at the back.
Sorry. Yep. We will get to you, I promise. My eyesight's not that good, I do apologize.
Okay. I'm Tsapa Mabaila from Botswana. My question is, we have more young people who are now involved in drugs. How do we make sure that our programs in Scouting are enforced so that we can be able to retain the young members. I'm saying so because majority of young people, as they grow up, they leave the movement. So how do you work best to ensure that we retain those members so that as they grow up, they know that this movement is the movement that they should go die with, and is the movement that they will forever cherish in their lives, so that we mitigate issues of drug abuse and alcohol abuse. So what is it that we are doing, as much as the NSOs around the world, what is it that they are doing to ensure that our young people really focus on the movement, make the movement grow, and they like the movement as time goes on? Thank you so much.
Is there anyone specifically you would like to direct that to?
Anybody can
Okay.
take the question. Thank you.
I can.
Diana, are you okay
Yeah.
to take that?
That's a very interesting question, but I think I have another question for you. It's like how the movement is adapting the program to be attractive for those young people. I mean, they are leaving for scouting because of the reason, because it's not attractive anymore for them, because they are getting worried in activities or they are not interested anymore. So maybe the way that we need to think in that sense is from the national level, so the programs level, say, okay, on what these young people from our community are interested on, and which are the things that we can offer to them to involve them in scouting. Maybe it's a different way of doing things. Maybe it's, I don't know, I hear stories about people that say, okay, young people on Saturdays, I mean, in Argentina, for example, on Saturdays, they used to meet all the rovers, right? And then the rovers started to work on Saturday because they have to pay their studies and, you know, have like an adult's life. And then some scout leader says, no, we cannot have a rover section anymore because they cannot come on Saturdays. And the question is, why don't you meet on Wednesday? Or why don't you meet on Thursday? So we really need to adapt what we are offering in terms of which are the needs from the young people that we are trying to reach. So it's not them that need to adapt to us. It's us that need to adapt to the young people. So that's the only way that we are going to grow. We are going to have more people, more young people involved. And also we are going to, as you say, take them away from drugs and different other issues that we all know that are happening around the world. So I think it's a mindset that we need to rethink to be able to be as flexible as possible to adapt.
Thank you very much for that answer. That you definitely were flexible with your mouth at the end of it, though.
Sorry for that.
No. I think we had a question near the front.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. My name is Yvonne Riley. I am living in America, but I today represent Sierra Leone. There was a coup d'etat, and they canceled the visa, so they asked me to come as also a scout from Sierra Leone. But he said that I want to bring the attention to the panel to the subject of communication. During the pandemic, I just noticed that there was nobody who talked to us. We were lonely at home. So we created the Youth Ambassadors, and we created a network in Facebook. And nowadays, I find out that, even in this conference, that one thing that maybe we can improve in WOSON is to transfer the good things from one federation and one association to another one, and translate in the 5 languages. Because Facebook did a great job communicating Taiwan with Japan, with Colombia, in the 2 years of COVID with the Youth Ambassadors. And thanks to that, we did kitchen and jamboree, and then cultural jamboree and global jamboree, and people want to talk to around the world without waiting for years for a jamboree. And to the panel, my question, concrete, is what we can do to improve communication, because now the kids around the world, only they look in their phones. And for those areas like South Argentina and Chile, where there is no phones, and poverty in Bangladesh, how we can increase the manual communication of scouting so scouting can be universal like Indonesia. Thank you.
Norma, would you like to take this question?
Sure, I'll take it. Communication is essential, but it's also, when it comes to communication, to me, it's a lot of question marks, because it's such a gap to fill. First, cultural. Second, language. Third, tone. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if I speak to someone else from another country that doesn't speak my language, or English even, I just communicate with body language. And I find that in the years that I communicate with scouts from all over the world, it's really not about having good English, but it's having that empathy, that body language, that eye contact, sometimes within context, of course. I come from a high context society. There is a certain mannerism to uphold when talking to adult leaders. I may not be a youth, but in my NSO I'm quite young. And it's a wonder how people ask, oh, you're international commissioner, okay. And then I told them, okay, but that makes me the first female international commissioner under 40 in my association. And they go like, oh, how did that happen? And I go like, hey, it's a lot of patience. But it's a lot about knowing people from my association, knowing myself. First of all, is knowing yourself. How do you appear to other people? How do you appear to your peers? And how do you appear to the leadership? And how do you appear to an American, to an Asian, to someone from the African region, from the Arab region? All this matters. I feel the answer to the question is not a one-liner, but there's a lot to consider in using these tools like Facebook, Zoom, and even manual communication, physical communication. First of all, we need to educate young people as well as adults in scouting to be sensitive, number one, about culture, about how, as individuals, we appear to each other. And when we know that, then we know how to break the next barrier, whether it's language or hand signals, smile even, so on and so forth. That's from me.
Thank you very much, Norma. Oh, I'm being told we've got 1 minute left, and with that minute, okay, Floor's hand did go up quickly, so Floor.
So I also want to ask questions. For Shashank,
Yes.
if you could share with us, how do you envision the scouting movement in the future? What would you like it to be?
Okay, that's a really provocative question. But yes.
Remember, you've only got 1 minute.
Okay.
It's already done.
Okay. So if you want me to envision scouting movement in the near future, it should be conducive to an environment that's open to young people and their changing priorities. Because one thing that I notice is a lot of things keep changing, especially in young minds. The interests, the priorities, and especially handling technology. This is becoming really challenging and is leading to a lot of issues for young people who across the world. So we need to remain resilient and formulate a structure that would help young people to feel safe, comfortable, and also develop their skills in order to create a better world, while also remembering the fact that we need to serve humanity at all times.
Thank you very much for that question. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of our panel members for the truly inspiring conversation that I've been allowed to witness with all of you today. It's clear that the future really is in our hands, and I hope that as we go forwards to tomorrow and start thinking more concretely about the roadmap, that we can really remember the importance of intergenerational dialogue within the movement, because this is a youth movement, but without the work of Mo, Norma, Diana, and many other people who are experienced but young at heart, we won't be able to deliver for the young people around the world, and we won't be able to create a better world. So on that note, I think I'm handing back to Pierre and Floor. And once again, another round of applause for our amazing panelists.
Thank you.